Hello everyone, today I'll present you switch lite versus normal switch. So the advantages of the switch lite. Let's start. The switch lite can connect with both every single Joy-Cons only wirelessly, and every single Switch Pro controllers or any single controllers that connects to the Switch wirelessly will be able to connect to the switch lite. Now, controllers that connect via USB ports on the Switch like this will not be able to connect to the switch lite, as you can see, because the switch lite does not have a USB-C port. Well, no, a USB port for it, and so that the dock just makes it more superior. But it's still quite an advantage because the 3DS did not connected with all controllers that worked on the Wii U. In fact, it connected to no controllers. But it did connect it to the Wii U as a controller itself for Smash, for 3DS and Wii U. And that's another story. Another advantage for the Switch Lite, as you can see, it's smaller than the Switch itself. About one less Joy-Con. And next advantage is that it has its own set of accessories. Also, the docks for the Switch Lite are more rare than the docks for the normal Switch. So, if you get yourself a Switch Lite, that's a big advantage because the third-party docks do in general break the Switch, including the Switch Lite. But the Switch Lite got something that works like this dock, which is made by both Nintendo and Hori, and that serves the sole purpose of being like a kickstand, but that recharges the Switch Lite. It's USB-C pass-through, so that means it won't break because it has the same power delivery as the actual charger, which is a pretty big advantage. It will work on the Switch, of course, and like I said, most Switch accessories will work on the Switch Lite. Reverse, most Switch Lite accessories will work on the Switch, except if you talk about cases. Well, this one does work on the Switch, but it's a very tight fit, and I highly suggest you to not use it for the Switch. So yeah, and the Switch Lite can have will have much more protective cases like this thing. This thing is trash. Not gonna lie, but I will show you real quick. Just let me put this on. Takes two hands. There you go. It's done. So it looks like this. Now, I don't really like that one because it makes the A, B, X, and Y buttons really hard to access. And the home button is insanely hard to access. Still accessible, but it feels like you need your nails to even access the buttons, which is pretty sad. But it will, weirdly enough, it will protect your console if any drops, but I'm pretty sure it's mostly the case itself that will protect the Switch Lite when a drop occurs. Now the disadvantages of the Switch Lite, let me speak about this real quick. So the Switch Lite has a rare issue that no other Switch models can get. Let's take that off my nose. Okay. No other Switch models can get that. Let me go with calibrate control stick, C-stick. So normally on the Switch Lite, after a long period of time playing it, the Switch Lite will have the C-stick starting bouncing towards the middle when you're registering an input like this. This can be dealt with, but over time, which is this issue that we call reverse Joy-Con drift, will get worse. And if you see, I try doing it like this. I'm not even moving, and the joystick is moving, trying to readjust itself. That is an issue only the Switch Lite just so happens to have. But as you can see, it can read every other input correctly. But for some reason, the joystick, this joystick, the C-stick, will have a hard time registering analog inputs. Especially on this side. This side is fine. It just works perfectly fine. This side will also work perfectly fine, and this one will also work perfectly fine. It's really just that one that gets speed, the weird one. That is something that I found myself, and yeah. Another disadvantage is that you don't have the same connection for Joy-Cons as you do with the normal Switch. So the normal Switch, you can just go ahead and put them like this. Switch Lite, the Joy-Cons aren't separable. So if you have a Joy-Con drift, you can't just buy yourself a Joy-Con and replace it. Next disadvantage, it lacks rumble. It doesn't have rumble. So playing games like Pokemon Sword that requires you to have rumble for the Rock type gym leader, for Rock type gym, is highly not recommended to do. You can still do it, but it's very hard. And finally, last disadvantage. I forgot one advantage, but I'm going to go over that later. Last disadvantage is the screen for the Switch Lite is smaller, while the screen for the Switch is bigger. Oh, I forgot another disadvantage. Switch Lite doesn't enter into the dock at all. Joysticks are in the way. As you can see, it just doesn't enter into the dock. Oh, also, if you look at the dock, I'm going to open the light real quick. If you look into the dock, you see two little pins. Yeah, those make sure that only the Switch will be able to be docked, while the Switch Lite is not able to. So you see the Switch just enters perfectly fine. But if I try doing this with my Switch Lite, both the joysticks are in the way. And if I take out both joysticks, even though both joysticks are in the way, it will still not enter because it doesn't have those little tiny holes that the Switch does. So that's it, but it has the single set of accessories. Last advantage for the Switch Lite is the D-pad. D-pad is insanely good. If I go for test input device, you'll see the D-pad is very precise. Zoom, 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 zoom. Zoom. Okay, I'll probably change the, let me see. Let me do something real quick. Brightness. Lowering down brightness will be a little easier to see. I'll go with Jordan sensor. Test input device. Text control buttons. So up. You see that it's up. Right. Left. Down. Works perfectly fine. It's much more precise than having to use the Joy-Cons like this. When you can just do this. This, you literally can't. And it works really well as a rolling D-pad as well. Next advantage I forgot to talk about is that this is rubber membrane. As this is a little switch. You can hear it. So you can hear that the switches button, well, the normal switches button are more clicky than the switch light. Over time, that's a slightly big disadvantage. If you let me tell you that it's a pretty big disadvantage over time. Because switches can easily break. So the switches on the Switch can easily break in the Joy-Con, and that's very expensive to repair. Well, no, not very expensive, but it's very hard to repair. You can do it by yourself, but it's extremely hard because, one, Joy-Con is a nightmare to open. Any Joy-Con are nightmares to open. And two, yes, the Joy-Cons are nightmares to open, but what's even more nightmare to do is to solder back the Switch. Because it's such a small solder point. So yeah, pretty bad disadvantage for the Switch. Let's just put back screen brightness. Back to normal. Like this. There you go. So that's for the Switch Lite. Now let's speak about the games that you preferably play on the Switch Lite. You preferably play games that you know that you're going to play offline, as Switch Lite is a portable console, so you're most likely going to use it as a portable console more than a home console. If you have a Switch Lite, you can play basically all Switch games. And also, if you bought a Switch Lite over Switch, you're most likely going to be using it as a normal Switch. Though without the dock, obviously, because it's not dockable, and it doesn't have the actual graphic card to transfer graphics up to the dock, up to the TV right there. Yes, I disconnected my dock for the video. So yeah, shout out to myself for buying both. Though I gotta say, the Switch Lite was pretty much a birthday present. Because I used my birthday present money to actually buy the Switch Lite. The Switch, I bought it myself through hard work. So yeah, I got normal Switch after the Switch Lite. And I still find the normal Switch to be more amazing. Oh, I forgot one disadvantage. Switch Lite has much less space storage than the Switch. That's it. Switch's advantages. Okay. First, if the controller breaks, it's very easy to just replace.